A full-time gaming YouTuber that's been doing this for over 10 years is going to spill the beans on exactly how he did it. He and I have been doing this for a living. This man right here, Rurikon, look at that face. He makes YouTube face unprompted at random times because he's made so many damn videos. Rurikon, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, dude. I was actually just trying to share your thing on Twitter. Hopefully I did it right. Let's hope I didn't mess it up. But it's really good to speak with you again. We haven't talked in a long time. You asked me, I think it was actually a couple of years ago, to come do this, and I was just still scrambling, doing the whole content creator thing. And I finally feel like 2021 is a year that I've made a couple of changes that I'm just like, you know what? Let's take things a little bit easier. We don't have to always be on the cutting edge of just about everything. And I should get back to Awall and get on that podcast of his and see what's up.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. And just so all of you know, the reason why I brought this man on is he is one of the oldest school YouTubers, and I'm not calling you old. He's one of the oldest school YouTubers to ever exist. He's been doing this longer than me. I started creating back in 2008 on YouTube, and you were actually creating videos for TGN, which is the way that we met all those years ago. Even before me, you were the very first, I believe, TGN director. If you guys haven't heard of TGN, that's okay. It's really old. Basically, that means that you've been YouTubing for how long at this point?
I don't know. Usually the date that my current channel was created was like over 10 years ago, but I've been doing it for even longer. So probably like 13, something like that.
Something along those years.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And just so everybody knows, this man's going to share with you those insights. He's been making videos since some of you guys were literally children. I'm going to pull up his channel right here. Here's just some videos he made with Monster Hunter recently. And you've been doing it for a living full time now. For how long out of that 13 years you've been creating content? How long has the gaming YouTuber kind of gaming creator thing been a full-time paying for you and your family living opportunity?
I mean, full-time, basically when I was not working on anything else was around 2010, was when I was not working on any other job. But I wouldn't say that YouTube was paying the bills back then. I was basically surviving off of like savings and stuff like that. I would say that probably started being more of a, in terms of payment, being more full-time was actually in around 2013 was when things were starting to stable out. And then in 2014 was when we started doing the broadband TV gig. So that was actually the real full-time. That was really good for those years. And then after that, struggled a little bit, but then kind of like got back to a decent rhythm. So yeah, but here's the thing that a lot of people need to understand, I think right from the get-go, is that when you start doing this full time, you cannot expect to do YouTube. I mean, depending on the type of content that you want to create, of course, there's like a million variables. But if you want to do something that you're passionate about, you can't expect to have like, oh, I'm going to just have a full-time income and it's going to be steady. I'm going to have this amount of money coming in every month. It's like stuff goes up, stuff goes down. Sometimes it stays down longer than you'd want to. Sometimes it stays up longer than you'd expect to. It's just very unpredictable. At least
that makes sense. Yeah, no, it's been unpredictable for everybody along the way. And tell everybody, so if you were to tell creators one thing, the kids these days, one thing, because 30% is the statistic that has happened in a lot of surveys. Over 30% of young people, when surveyed, they ask them what they want to do when they grow up. They want to do what we're doing, what we've been doing for a living for the last 10 years when they grow up. They want to be an online influencer. They want to be a social media star, you name it. So what advice, if you were to give one piece of advice, something you wish you knew when you got started, to those young people today that are trying to make it on the internet, as a gaming creator specifically, what would you tell them? What would you wish you would have known going into this?
So first, there's, in my opinion, there's kind of like two paths to YouTube. There's one that I would consider to be slightly easier and one that I would consider to be significantly harder, which is the one that I'm doing because I'm not smart. So you have to decide very early on whether you want to do this because you want to do it as something that you are passionate about or if you want to do it as a job. And over the years, I've met a lot of people that do it for the passion and also a lot of people that do it for the job. There's no wrong answers here, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting to do this as a job, but the mentality of doing YouTube as a job is a very different one. It's like, if you want to go in it as a job, then you have to figure out, okay, what trend am I going to capitalize on? What thing am I going to specialize on? And you want to find that niche and do, and I'm talking specifically about YouTube, by the way, not necessarily like other media platforms, right? But you find the niche that you want to focus on and you just do that and nothing else. Like, to give you an example, the best thing that I could do for myself in terms of a business perspective is to create exclusively Monster Hunter content at this point, because that's the most popular thing on my channel. And that would be the most business savvy decision to do. But because, like I said, I'm not smart, I end up doing a lot of other content because I decided very early on that I was not in this just for the money making aspect. I'm in it for just sharing stuff that I'm passionate about. And a lot of times that comes with a cost. And that cost is that whenever you cover something that maybe you're passionate about, but maybe is not your usual niche, then that is going to tank. That video is not going to do well for you, and most likely will even hurt your channel a little bit in the near time space after that particular video. But eventually, if you stick with, I believe you even said it at one point, like 80% your consistent content and 20% the stuff that you want to experiment on. You know, if you stick to something like that, then it kind of balances out in the end. But the best way to be most successful, if you just want to be successful, if you just want to like really make the big bucks, is just like find your one niche and then hammer that down, see if that is there's a possibility of that being successful, and just do just that and nothing else.
And I wanted all of you guys to hear that, not just from me, but from somebody else who's actually doing it for a living for a long time. That's exactly right. Eliminate the stinkers and double down on the winners.
We didn't rehearse any of this. I specifically told Awall not to tell me the questions that he was going to ask me because I just figured it'd be more authentic that way.
It is more authentic. Speaking of authenticity, let's pay the bills with this cha-ching advertisement.
This video is sponsored by Restream. Why live stream to one platform when you can simultaneously live stream to every platform to discover new audiences faster using Restream.io?
Oh, man.
Now, that's what I call authenticity. Thank you, Restream, for sponsoring this podcast. You should stream on multiple platforms at the same time. That's my next question for you, actually, right now, Rurikon. You have hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. At this point, you've gotten tens of millions of views, I believe, on your channel, Monster Hunter World being your primary niche. So let me ask you this. What is the danger of you being so dependent on YouTube specifically? What measures should creators take to diversify the platforms they're on, the revenue streams they're on, and how they can kind of secure their living essentially as a content creator? Because it can be really dangerous out there. You've been through a million adpocalypses over time, right? You've seen the industry change so many times. What measures have you taken to secure the bag for yourself and your family that's helped you last basically over a decade at this point as a gaming content creator?
I mean, I got to be honest, that is actually one of my weakest aspects when it comes to content creation. And the main reasoning behind it is because it's one of those situations where I know what I should be doing. As a matter of fact, I've had conversations about this with you a long time ago. So it's like, I know what I should be doing, but I just end up not doing it because I dedicate too much time to content creation. And I recognize that this is one of my faults and I'm kind of like stuck in my old ways. But things that people should definitely do is never be dependent on only one platform, because even though I have a much smaller presence on Twitch, I still do have that presence on Twitch. I also naturally have a presence on Twitter where I'm constantly posting stuff and whatnot. I should also have a presence on Facebook, but I don't really like that website all that much. I'm sorry. But yeah, and also Instagram is a great place to have a presence, because ultimately there's just the danger that at some point one of these platforms can ban you, can shut you down. And in my case, like for instance, if I happen to lose my YouTube revenue, it's a huge setback, but I can potentially bounce back a little bit by going over to Twitch and doing some live streams there. But it is something that every creator should consider. It's like you should not go whole hog on just one platform unless you're getting paid for it, unless that particular platform is willing to just come up to you and be like, hey, listen, here's a fat stack of money for you to only work with us. That's a completely different ballpark. But until one of these platforms comes to me with a big fat check, I'm not exclusive to anyone. But having said that, I know that you use Restream and all that stuff. I personally don't tend to do that because I'm also stuck in my old ways.
I feel like my viewers are going to think we set this interview up. Like you saying that you should only stream exclusively to one platform if they give you cash. That's what I tell them all the time. Things like Twitch affiliate, things that anything that has you
Which
exclusive on a
affiliate is a
platform
terrible
without
deal.
it's a terrible deal. Rurikon, tell
Yeah.
us more about why you think that's a terrible deal. Twitch affiliate, it had stars and balloons and achievements in the dashboard. Isn't that good?
No, Twitch affiliate is basically like they're limiting the amount of platforms that you can stream to simultaneously, even though I think there's this misconception that a lot of people seem to think that actually I don't know what the affiliate contract is like, so I can't really talk too much about that, but I constantly hear this misconception of people saying like, "Oh, someone who's a Twitch partner, they can't stream on YouTube." No, that you can. I can stream on YouTube. You just can't do it at the same time. Twitch only has like 24 hours of exclusivity over the live streams that I do on Twitch. And, I'm still free to, stream something on Twitch and then turn around, stream something completely different on YouTube. And that's fine. As long as you're not putting up the same content both places at the same time, Twitch doesn't care. But in terms of affiliates, the reason it's bad is because I don't even know what the revenue share split is for affiliates. I would assume it's less than 50-50. So that's a really bad share to begin with. And usually a lot of people think that, oh, I'm going to become an affiliate and then I'm going to become a partner. It's going to be great. And I think that probably there might be 10% of people that became affiliates eventually became partners. If that, like, sure, you can monetize, but I don't think it's worth it for, just the requirements for you to be affiliated. They're so small that I don't think it's worth it for you to monetize just for that alone. I think you're better off, like, taking your chances streaming to multiple platforms and figuring your stuff out over a longer period of time than taking the Twitch affiliate deal, particularly because those affiliate deals are like for a span of years. You probably know this better than me.
They're a span of infinity. They're an infinity deal. So there's also that is a long time. I've heard that's a really really long time to be in a contract with somebody. And also, look, I'm not your lawyer, and Rurikon's not your lawyer.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna pretend like we are. But what I will tell you is, some of the Twitch contracts I've seen, not only do they have a clause where you're exclusive to stream on their platform, but you're exclusive overall to stream on their platform.
Wait,
and
you can't actually stream anywhere else?
Depending on the version of the Twitch contract, review your own and talk to your lawyer. We are not your lawyer. We are not legal counsel. And this does not substitute. This is not substitute as legal advice, of course. There's the corpo in me coming out. But what I would say about it is this. They also have some rights to your brand as well, to be able to distribute your brand, your likeness, and monetize that in any way that they see fit by you signing that contract. And so losing the rights to your own brand and signing those off to Jeff Bezos, now that Amazon is owned or now that Amazon owns Twitch, is also a really dangerous proposition in my opinion. So I'm glad that that exclusivity is not necessarily still in your book of favorite things. Let's talk about ways to monetize. I know that you are not I'm the ice cold corpo out of the pair of us, right? We've been working together for a long time. I'm the one who always thinks money and how do you make a business out of something. You haven't necessarily been that. How have you handled the financial elements of being a gaming content creator with YouTube monetization versus sponsorships versus donations and all those revenue streams? And what sort of mix would you recommend to a kid these days who's trying to make it their full-time living? What if you were to do it all, if you were to do the quote unquote right strategy, what do you think that is here in 2021?
Well, the first thing that I would do, and this is something that I still know in the back of my mind I got to do, is a merch store. After you gain a little bit of following, at least, because obviously if you're someone who's just, you create your channel for the first time, you put up a video, it's got one view, don't do a merch store. But like if you're someone who's getting like to the 10K subs or the 5K subs, make a merch store, because right now it's super easy to do merch stores, and you can just like have a t-shirt design, a mug, something like super easy to get done. And I know it's easy and I should be doing it. I haven't done it yet, but that is one of the first things that you want to do. The second thing is try to get yourself sponsorships, because they are super useful. Like for instance, I haven't done one in a while, but like I would totally take one for like Manscaped or something like that for sure.
That's right.
the Ridge wallets, who are also doing a lot of sponsorships on YouTube. Like that kind of stuff appears to be pretty easy. You can do those. You see a lot of reputable YouTubers that I follow take on those kinds of sponsorships. So that's how you know that those people are legit. I would be a little bit more wary when it comes to VPNs and stuff like that, because sometimes some of the VPNs aren't that safe. So you got to do a little bit more research when it comes to that. But you don't have to do that much research into something like Ridge Wallet, Manscaped, or other products that you might know. And those are usually fairly simple. And, that's a good way to substantiate your income. Another thing is obviously try to do live streams on YouTube, because there's always some kind-hearted people that will be happy to support your content if they enjoy it. Like, I'm always thankful and surprised whenever someone shows up in one of my YouTube streams or something, just drops a super chat, and I'm like, thank you, appreciate it. Make sure to also acknowledge whenever someone does that, because I mean, it's just a respectful thing to do, particularly during a pandemic when people are choosing to spend what limited amount of income they have on you as a content creator. I think it's also extremely motivational, but at the same time, you should never take that stuff for granted. And obviously, if you do Twitch at the same time, try to see if, maybe people will get you some bits or something like that. Again, it's one of those things that if you do the content with this type of like donations and stuff, it eventually happens, but you do have to set it up like on the back end of YouTube, make sure that, super chats are enabled and all of these other things, and the join button and all of this stuff. But yeah, that's some of the ways to do it. But yeah, sponsorships are not necessarily a bad thing. Now, the thing is, oops, sorry.
Whoa,
The
that
thing
was
is,
crazy.
yeah. The thing is, you got to be careful about which products you support. Like I mentioned a couple of easy ones, but you want to be a little bit wary of some other things, like, because you're going to get stuff like Raid Shadow Legends thrown at you. Like I've had
hey, don't hate on Raid. Look, they've got unlimited money to pay creators. I actually,
they do.
You might
They
hate
definitely
this.
do.
You might hate this. I actually encourage my audience to take deals from Raid Shadow Legends and just pocket the money. Pocket the money, upgrade your studio, whatever you got to do. Buy that equipment with it. Raid Shadow Legends will overpay you for the sponsorship opportunities. Oh, go ahead. You're about to drop some knowledge on us. Hit us.
Yeah, the reason I specifically warn people when it comes to stuff like that is because there's a lot of bigger content creators that basically slammed Raid Shadow. I mean, in my channel, you wouldn't see something like that because I just don't like mobile games. You know where I stand on mobile games by this point.
Sure.
So it just doesn't make sense for me to take on a sponsorship like that. But even just for the money, the problem is that there's a lot of influence in terms of the community, where the community just does not approve of those kinds of sponsorships. Like even sometimes on some of the things, some products that I believe in, like I did some sponsorships for Dauntless a while back because I was super addicted to it, and I was like, hey, they offered me this opportunity, sure, I'll take on a sponsorship. I'm playing the damn game anyway. So those types of things make sense to me. But even then, some people started accusing me of being a sellout and stuff like that. And it's like, there's a balance to be struck there, right? Where, if you think your audience is not going to hate you for doing something like that, then go right ahead. Like I said, for me, it doesn't make sense. But for someone else that maybe is struggling to try and do the thing full time, I'll tell you right now, they definitely are overpaying when compared to anybody else. Like I've had emails in the thousands of dollars for them to just like, oh yeah, just do a 30-second ad or something like that. And I'm like, no. But for someone that is maybe in a different position, but I would still advise you to be very careful when it comes to those sponsorships, because one thing is for sure, it's very hard to come back from damaging your brand. So like if I was to damage my brand by taking on a Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship, it would be something that would haunt me for a significant amount of time. I could potentially overcome it.
Hell would freeze over before you take a Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship. I totally understand. Like YouTube would YouTube would implode on itself in a black hole, and your audience knows that about you, right? You loathe that type of game, and you've done entire rants on that, so that makes sense. Speaking of money, one of my viewers on Twitter, Drew Jordan, wants to know, just to get an idea of a mid-tier creator like you, who's got hundreds of thousands of followers, getting millions of views per month, fluctuates obviously. You have an English-speaking audience primarily. What kind of CPM are you generally getting? Like, what is an average for a creator like you? A lot of people have this perception when you're starting. When you become a bigger creator, you have a better CPM, or you have proprietary ads, or the amount of money you're making per view significantly increases along the way. Do you mind sharing with us what your average CPM is across the board for North American gaming content, just in general over the span of years, just to give everybody
If
kind of a
you
ballpark number?
if you can tell me exactly where that is on the analytics, because I don't pay attention to that. I just look at the number that comes at the end of the month. And I'm just like,
The
is
number
this
there.
still working? Works fine. Good.
All right, that's
What?
fine. So you go to your analytics.
Yeah.
You go to YouTube Creator Studio. You go to your
Yeah. I know.
analytics, and then you go to the revenue tab at the top. I'm doing mine right now, and then you're going to have
Okay.
your revenue, RPM, and
Playback based
playback
CPM.
based CPM. Yeah.
That's the
What are
one
you
you
doing
want?
for your gaming channel? Yeah.
Right now it's 7.39 on my playback based CPM.
Got it. So he's got 739 on his. On my channel, mine is 1182. And so why is
See?
mine higher? This is the same thing we've been talking about, and your RPM is a different number too. Both of these are different numbers that mean different things. But long story short, depending on the topic that you're covering and the interest from advertisers with that particular topic at that particular time is going to determine what your CPM is. And so let's say, for example, there's a major game release that comes out related to maybe Monster Hunter, just for example. I
Yeah.
would imagine during that time, you have maybe seen in the past increased ad rates and monetization rates during that time, as
Oh
obviously
yeah.
they're advertising against your content, right?
Yeah, back in the launch of Monster Hunter World, that's the most successful my channel was. I didn't really look at the CPM, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I'm pretty sure.
Got it. Well, here's another question I think is super relevant to you. And you brought this up toward the beginning of this interview, talking about if you were doing the smart play, all you would be doing would
Yeah.
be covering Monster Hunter World because that's your
Yes.
big game. So the question from Grogu on Twitter is, do you find a large drop in views if you do a non-Monster Hunter World video or stream? I'm going to do that. That's part one of the question. I'd say part two. And then part two is, do you care?
I do care, but let me actually show you something. If you actually share my screen right now, you
Yeah, we're
should be
looking at
able
it.
to see. You should be able to see, like, for instance, look at my Monster Hunter video here, 17,000 views. And look at the Outriders one, 5.7. And then you can look at like other videos in there. And for some reason, my mouse stopped working, but you can look at other videos in there. Like, for instance, I wanted to look for some Final Fantasy 14, like this one right here. Final Fantasy 14, 1.7 thousand views. So yes, you see a huge drop when you're playing something that is when you're covering something that is very different than what you're doing. It depends on how common the other topics are. So, like for instance, Outriders is a bit of a half step because it's also another console game. It's also a looter type game. So there's a little bit of crossover there. But Final Fantasy 14 is a straight up old school MMO. So like most people that are playing Monster Hunter aren't necessarily playing Final Fantasy 14. So you see a huge drop off there. Now, the problem with this is that, for instance, if you do one of these videos that is going to get lower views and you know that it's going to get lower views, you can expect that your next couple of videos on the channel to also get lower views, even if they're about the topic that you're passionate about. It's just going to be a thing that is going to happen. Those
So
videos are also going
you're
to get
seeing a
affected.
video one that will impact the performance of video two, three, maybe
Yes,
four on your channel.
yes,
And you
before you can
definitely
like go back to normal.
got it on YouTube. So that's really interesting that you're reporting that. But is it also the case if video one is a banger? That's what the kids say these days.
Yeah.
Then does that mean video two, three, and four get an increase in performance after that, or is
Yes.
it only a decrease in performance? You're seeing it both
No,
ways,
no,
huh?
no, no, no. It's both ways. So like if for instance, if for whatever reason I do to give you an idea, a deviation that I did around the release of the PlayStation 5 was obviously I'm also known for Dark Souls, right? You know that. But during the Monster Hunter time, I basically didn't cover any Souls at all. But then when Demon Souls came out, I jumped on that, the Demon Souls remake. I jumped on that and I basically did a lot of live streams. And those videos kind of blew up, and that kind of has an effect that also affects the next couple of Monster Hunter videos. So basically, the point is, if your videos are doing good, the next video is gonna do even better normally. If your videos start doing bad, they're gonna start doing worse. All of them, regardless of what topic you are covering. Now,
Makes
naturally,
sense.
doing more videos on your niche will eventually get your views back up a little bit, which is why I balance stuff around by constantly, producing new Monster Hunter content. But it's one of those things. It's a juggling act, and this is something that works for me, but it could be very different depending on who you ask.
Makes sense. It says the stream is paused because you minimize the window. While you
Oh,
fix
I'm sorry.
that, yeah, it's your fault as the guest for not doing that right. We're going to switch to a topic of gear because you are one of the people out there that's really focused on technical items and really knowing your stuff. When it comes to microphones, you're somebody I was always, when you were working with me at Broadband TV, I could go rely on gear, recommendations and different items from. Really quick, I need to plug my sweepstakes and giveaway here I'm doing. It is completely free. I'm giving away a Rodecaster Pro mixer, this Rode Procaster mic, the boom arm, the shock mount, a 3-month TubeBuddy license, and a 3-month Restream license, all literally for free. You remember I did all those giveaways at TGN. I'm still doing them.
Yeah, dude. It's
Yeah,
the way to
buddy.
do it.
I was giving away iPads like crazy. Anyway, all of that is free. You can enter to win just by confirming you're subscribed to things and clicking buttons in this giveaway. It's an $1,100 package. You have to be freaking crazy not to enter this giveaway. We're giving away one of these packages every single quarter. Let's talk about gear now. You're my
And
gear guy.
let me tell you
Go
right
ahead.
now, a very important thing, particularly for people that are entering in this giveaway that you're doing. One of the most important things when it comes to video production, which I think not everybody understands this, but one of the most important things when it comes to video is not necessarily the footage, which can be somewhat deceiving, but particularly if you're doing a lot of commentary, one of the most important things is actually your audio. So that microphone, it's a
Mhm.
Rode, you said?
It's a Rode Procaster. It's the one I'm
Yeah.
talking to
The
on the podcast right now. Yeah.
Rode mics, I always hear amazing things about them. So yeah, it's like microphone, one of the most important investments that you can possibly make when it comes to creating content if you are going to do any type of commentary. Because it's like you could listen to this podcast if my face cam footage was terrible, if Awall's face cam footage was terrible, you could listen to this podcast and still be fine. But if we sounded terrible, you would instantly click away.
That's absolutely true. So so obviously you're saying when it comes to prioritizing gear as a creator, sage advice is really get your microphone game on lockdown and get the
Yeah.
audio game in check. If you were to do a second priority after that, so investing more money into this is going to generate real results in terms of retention on your content, especially if you're doing long form content like you do. I mean, you just do straight up like talks where you just
Yeah,
talk about a game or you play it for a really long time. You've got your own podcast. You share your real thoughts, stuff like that. So it
Yeah.
obviously has to have an impact on your retention for you to have great sounding audio. Your second priority after that, beyond audio, the mic, what would you say is the second most important out of all of the other gear you could purchase?
Um, Probably a GPU at this point because like you have
Yeah.
shadow play. So I would prioritize the GPU even before the capture card because like back in the day, we would always be doing capture card stuff, and I still do capture card stuff because I work with consoles a lot. But I noticed that there's a trend right now. Most of the creators that are coming up, they tend to usually be working with PCs. So one of your most important pieces of gear, I would say, is the GPU because you got your shadow play. You can capture through shadow play with very minimal performance loss. And so long as
Mm-hmm.
you have a decent GPU, a decent CPU alongside that GPU, you should be golden for getting started with content creation. At least you got your mic, you got your solid GPU to record gameplay or whatever else you need to record. Sort out any type of software stuff that you use with OBS and whatnot, and boom, done.
That totally makes sense. Okay. That's your gear priorities, guys. Straight from the pro. Microphone number 1, GPU number 2. Also, quick pro tip. We were talking about this before the broadcast. You can buy a pre-built PC right now to get those 30 series graphics cards if
Yes.
you want one. still costs thousands of dollars though. So he didn't say camera, he didn't say lights. I do, if you have the remote in hand, I want you to show off your Elgato key lights really quick.
My
Can you
Elgato key lights?
your Elgato key lights? I love them, dude. They're homemade,
it's
right?
You're 2 pieces of wood and some LEDs that my dad made for me.
Dude, Elgato key lights, seeing them right there. I mean, that's awesome that they're homemade. That's so cool. So that just goes to show you, like, this man's making a living doing what he loves, and he doesn't have, you know, the $500 lighting package. He's got obviously some lights that his dad made him, right? No, like, viewers don't care that much. It's all about the content and the value. Speaking of which,
exactly. Like
go ahead.
The camera, it's one of those things that also depends on like if you're on camera a lot, and if you're like big wide shot like Awall, a lot of his content is on camera. So the camera there makes also, I would say, the reason I said GPU was for gameplay content, right? If you're doing content like the type of stuff Awall is doing, then you want to get a camera instead of a GPU, right? Basically, it's the visual side of your video, I guess.
No, that totally makes sense. That's why I'm switching between 4 cameras or whatever doing my podcast, because otherwise you're just looking at my stupid face, same shot the whole time. Totally makes sense. Okay, let's talk about. We only have a couple more topics here, and then I'm going to let you go back to your life as a millionaire creator. But
millionaire creator, don't I wish?
So let's talk about. You are an interesting case because you are essentially a variety streamer. Let's call you a variety YouTuber. And this is a question that everybody brings up. One game versus variety streamer. One game versus, you know, variety YouTuber. Should I make multiple channels for the different games I'm covering, etc.? You are this sort of anomaly where you have just kind of done whatever the heck you want and have made it work. So if somebody were to start from scratch today and they are not, let's say, psychotic like you, and are willing to grind through thousands of videos before you hit your big cash cow like Monster Hunter, what advice would you give them in terms of covering one game versus multiple, making one channel versus multiple, and that whole variety streamer argument that you and I have been a part of this discussion now for like 8 or 9 years. People have been talking about this. What are your thoughts on it today, fresh, if you were to start all over again?
If I had to start all over again, I mean, it's basically what I said earlier in the podcast. It's your niche, and your niche is that one game. Like, it's not even necessarily, one genre, because a lot of people think, oh, this will work great. Like, I'll do Destiny, and then at the same time, I'll do Warframe. No, it doesn't always work that great. Sometimes it might, sometimes it might not. I don't have the formula because I don't really play Destiny or Warframe that much, but I do know they're both looter shooters, and they both seem to fit the same type of playstyle. But a lot of the people that love Warframe don't actually like Destiny, and a lot of people that like Destiny don't actually like Warframe. So it's one of those things where, personally, I would try to focus on one game that, for starters, has to be a game that you like, and it has to be a game that has the potential to be successful. Because if you're going to focus on something that you don't like, people will eventually see through that, and they'll notice that it's like, you just sound like you're bored. And that is the way to really be successful. Now, the problem with that, and there's a big problem with doing that and just picking one game and doing it until the end of time, is the burnout. Like, you've seen
so
this
real.
a lot on the Minecraft community, particularly. I seem to see every day there's a, super successful Minecraft YouTuber, millions and millions of subs, making millions and millions of dollars. And it's just like, he hates the game because he's played it so much, and he's done the YouTube game all right. Like, he did everything right, made all the right choices, but then he got there and it's like, I can't take this anymore. And they're just like really losing on their mental health. See, that's the thing. If you make the choice I made, which is like, I just make videos about whatever I enjoy. So like, you called Monster Hunter my cash cow. You're right, because I really love Monster Hunter, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be covering it. I wouldn't care. It's just one of those things that you got to pick your battles. If you think you have the mental fortitude to stick with one game, and I know creators that do this, and they're very successful. I even had a call not that long ago with one of them, and he basically just told me, look, dude, this to me is a job. I'm not here to have fun. I was like, all right. This is like,
that's okay.
That's
Calm down,
that's a
man. All right, all right.
that's a fair argument. I still love the guy. I think he's amazing. You don't lose any respect for, but I was just a little bit surprised because I thought he was, in it more of the passion. It's like, no, no, listen, when I'm not creating content, I'm not playing the game. And I was like, okay, I mean, that's cool. But if you're able to do that and still maintain your mental health, then that is the best way. That is the way to, in my opinion, that is the way to be successful. As a matter of fact, I even thought about creating a couple of separate channels for specifically for different games. Like I made a Final Fantasy channel not that long ago, specifically for the purpose of following 14. The thing is, being a father of two children, it's like managing two YouTube channels. It's a little bit too much. You have to constantly be on top of everything. And then I'm already ignoring stuff like doing merch and other opportunities. And, I was like, this is a bad idea. But yes, the idea is the whole thing about you making one channel per game. If you can stick to it and create content for all those channels, I think that is the right strategy. I think there was even a channel that talked about this a while back. I don't remember exactly who it was, but it was a League of Legends content creator. And he was just like, yeah, dude, I have a channel for League of Legends, another one for Dota, another one for, I don't know, it was like 5 or 6 different games. And he was
Yep.
saying, I'm super successful with all of these channels. And I'm like, that's great. If you're able to put in enough time to do that stuff, sure. But I would advise you to first find that one thing, that one game that you really want to cover that one. And then after you have 5,000, 10,000 subs, then you can start thinking about, okay, now I'm going to diversify. I want to do this other game. I'm going to do it on a different channel. Or you can do it like me, in which you put everything in the same channel and it's going to go up and down. It's a crazy roller coaster ride, and your mental health stays a little bit better because you're doing stuff that you enjoy. But at the same time, you can expect that your finances are going to fluctuate like crazy. But that's just something that I accept. And also understand that I'm in a bit of a position of privilege when it comes to this stuff, because the cost of living where I live, which is Portugal, because I'm actually Portuguese. I know I sound American, but I'm Portuguese. The cost of living in Portugal is significantly lower than living in America. So I don't need to be making as much money as someone that lives in America in order to provide for myself and for my family.
Thank you for that insight. That is a different perspective I think you're going to get from anybody else. This is a man that just pushed through and just did whatever the hell he wanted and eventually made it. But I actually use you as an example all the time. If you're going to do that, you need to have the mental fortitude to be willing to make 1,000 videos before you make it. And if you think you can do that by having the path of I'm only going to do what I'm deeply passionate about, then you could turn out like Rurikon. But if you don't have 1,000 videos in the tank right now before you make it and before you get that social validation and financial validation, then you maybe should rethink your strategy. Final topic, then I'm going to let you go back to jumping into pools of money as a full-time gaming creator.
Yeah, I have the hot tub of $100 bills going right now. There's 2 hot ladies in there. Don't tell my wife.
I won't. This is not public on literally every platform. Speaking of which, Restream, I want to thank our sponsor, Restream. We are live on Periscope. Hopefully she's not on Twitter. We're live on Twitch. Hey, everybody on Twitch. Hopefully she's not on Twitch. We're also live on YouTube, and we're live on Facebook Gaming. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you want to grow faster as a gaming content creator, I do recommend Restreaming. Rurikon does not recommend it because he's a psycho.
Yeah,
he's
a psycho.
He's a self-admitted psycho.
Like, I can explain one of the things why that is. I'm not saying that this is the right. I always say I'm not saying the way I do things is the right way to do things. As a matter of fact, I often say that it's a wrong way to do things. But the reason is I like to engage with one chat, just one. I don't, there's chats coming in from Twitch, from YouTube, and I'm just like, no, one chat, one community. That's it. Because I focus a lot on interacting, and I don't want to miss a single thing that comes up. And even then, I
totally understand that. And right now I'm pulling up on the screen. This is called Restream Chat. It's got all the chats on it in one feed. It solves that problem. Anyway,
I've seen that thing. Yeah, but
it's okay. It's okay. This is just 2 old men talking about YouTube content creation. Final topic, then I'm going to let you go for real, though. Here's the topic. You've been around, you have this 10-year perspective as a gaming content creator, well, longer, like me, where you've seen the rise of YouTube in the early days of Minecraft when it first got started, World of Warcraft when those are the big games. Then the middle stages when esports started to emerge, League of Legends, Dota 2, this interesting MOBA era. Then we moved into the first-person shooter era with battle royales. That seems to be kind of dipping off now, and we're moving into a new era of gaming. Before I say what I think it's going to be, I would love to know from you, somebody who's seen all this ebb and flow, all these chapters of this story of where the gaming creator industry is going overall. Where do you think the future of video games that can be covered by creators is going in the next 5 to 10 year timeline? What's the future look like in your opinion?
I think that right now we're actually in a phase that I can't really predict what comes after this phase, but I think that the phase we're in is going to be around for a while, and that is games that can generate drama between content creators. That appears to be something that is just so incredibly viral. Like, this creator said this thing about that creator while they were playing this video game. Like right now, you see a lot of stuff with GTA RP, and you saw a little bit of like Fall Guys coming into the battle royale type scene with a little bit of a twist, which was funny for a while, but it kind of dropped off. But now you see Among Us, and Among Us and GTA RP, I think, are some of the primary examples of where I think the content is going to be going for at least a couple of years, because these are games that can generate some serious drama between content creators. And any game that follows that thing that can generate that real life drama, it's almost that, remember the Big Brother aspect of like people looking in on other people being inside a house, which is why you have a lot of these dynamics within streamer houses and stuff like that. Like that type of content is actually what is kind of dominating the gaming sphere right now, even though that is something that I'm personally not interested in at all. So I'm not really future proofing myself in that aspect. I'm just going to keep doing my thing and hopefully people keep enjoying it. But, that is one of those things that I just think that is going to be our staple for the time being when it comes to really successful and viral trends.
I love that. And maybe perhaps obviously you've seen the rise of, you mentioned Fall Guys and Among Us, all driven by the collaborative growth on Twitch in particular, playing together, but also the number one gaming category moving in from 2020 to now 2021 on Twitch is just chatting. And it's going to be, it's in terms of all the numbers, it's eclipsing every game. Why? It's all about, I think, having an unlimited well of content to create, period. And where is there an unlimited number of things to talk about? That is, of course, talking about drama, talking about other people. He said, she said crap, which has been an unlimited well of content for humanity for, I don't know, however long we've been around, thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. So that's a really great insight. I was also going to say mobile gaming is the future. And I know you hate mobile games. Yeah, I know.
I figured going, you make your point so that I can shoot it down.
Mobile games is actually the future, but you made up a great point about talking with and collaborating with other creators and just the interaction of your personalities. That is an unlimited well of content. So you don't have to play mobile games necessarily. If you can get that social aspect, then that makes sense. So Rubicon, where can people find you on the internet? I've already dropped the links a million times in live stream, but for the VOD, where can they find you on the internet if they want to watch you execute this 10,000 IQ strategy in real time?
10,000 IQ strategy of just doing whatever the hell I want. You can find me at youtube.com/Ruricon, which, by the way, in case you guys have any doubts about Awall's credentials, the reason I have that particular URL is because Awall got it for me back in the day. It's a vanity URL.
What can I say? I pulled some strings at YouTube. What can you say? No, for sure. You're welcome. That's awesome. So go check him out on YouTube. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Ruricon. It was great to catch up with you a little bit. That was fun after all of these years. And I can't wait to see what the next chapter of your creator career is going to be. Maybe more collaboration. Well, you're doing a lot of collaboration already. You're doing great.
I'm doing a lot of podcasts and chats, because that's one of the things that I realized in 2021 was that I wanted to just sit down and chat more with people, because there's all of these things about, oh, you got to do a video that's more than 10 minutes. Now it's more than 8 minutes because they changed the way that stuff works. But you got to do a video that's more than 8 minutes because that's optimal for you to put in some mid-roll ads. But you got to also make sure that it's not above 20 minutes because, at that point, not a lot of people are going to watch. And I'm just like, really? I'm going to make a weekly podcast of 3 hours every week, and I'm going to make it work. And it's been working great.
That's awesome. You just do, so that's it. Guys, it is possible to do whatever you want as a creator, and eventually you will build an audience around you that loves what you do because it's genuine and it's from the heart. And I think that's the secret sauce that Rurikhan brings to the table as a creator that almost no other creators bring. Is from day one, he's only just been himself and done only what he wants as a content creator, and literally said fuck it to everything else. I was in those conversations with him and he said, fuck that game, I'm not doing that. And that's the way he talks about things that he doesn't like and he doesn't want to do. And I commend you for sticking to your guns and doing exactly what you want. And I think you're a good example to people that if they have that drive, that 1,000 video drive, they can make it where you're at too. All right, man. It's good catching up with you. Thank you everybody for watching. Go subscribe to Rurikhan right now. Great conversations, especially if you're into PC and console gaming. And he's covering Outriders right now, which is coming out. Any sort of these AAA games, he's all over it. Go subscribe today to get honest, unfiltered opinions that cannot be bought by evil corporations. Rurikhan's channel. Adios, amigos. See you in the next one.